everybody, welcome back to Happy Bake Day, where every day is a happy bake day. I hope your oven baked lasagna from last week came out cheesy, delicious, and made dinner perfect. If you missed that episode, of course, you can check it out right here. Today we're going to be making deliciously sweet and spicy ham and cheese kolaches. Now these will be made in a few different parts. Part 1 is going to be making our dough, which will need some time to rise. Part 2 is going to be adding in our ham and cheese filling into the dough. Part 3 is going to be topping it with a wonderful egg wash, and then of course baking it at the very end. Now today's recipe, we're actually going to be using FreshJax's Brunch Life seasoning. This is going to be such a delicious addition to our dough. It's got really great onion and garlic flavor, a little bit of sesame seeds, which I think will really bring out some additional smoky flavors in our ham that we're going to use and just really enhance these kolaches all together. Now, in order to make our dough, which will be our first step, you're going to need the following ingredients. 4 cups of bread flour plus some more for dusting, 1/4 cup of FreshJax's Brunch Life seasoning, 1.5 cups of whole milk, 1 package of active dry yeast, 3/4 cups plus 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter melted, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Our first step is going to be done over on our stove. You're going to add your milk to a small saucepan and you're going to start warming it over medium-low heat. Check the back of your yeast packet and check to see what temperature your milk needs to be warmed at. You want to make sure it's not too hot, not too cold. It needs to be right in that sweet spot. For this yeast packet, it needs to be between 100 and 110 degrees. So I'm going to be using my baking thermometer to help me reach that sweet spot temperature. Once your milk has reached that right temperature, you're going to remove it from your stove. You're going to add the milk to the bowl of a stand mixer. Then you'll sprinkle your yeast right on top of the milk and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Mix everything together and then you're going to allow it to rest for 5 to 7 minutes so that way your yeast can become activated and nice and foamy and bubbly. While we are waiting for our yeast to finish activating, our next step is to make our dry mixture. We're going to combine together our flour, sugar, seasoning, and salt all together in one mixing bowl, and you're going to mix everything together until it's well combined, and you're going to set that bowl aside. Our yeast has finished activating. It is gorgeous and foamy and bubbly. I have my stand mixer fitted with my dough hook attachment. Our next step is to add our butter into the bowl of our stand mixer, as well as 1/3 of our flour mixture. We're going to start mixing it on low speed until the dough starts to combine. After that, slowly add in the remainder of your flour mixture until the dough starts to form. You should see it start pulling away from the edge of your mixing bowl here. But if it's still a little too sticky, go ahead and add in a tablespoon of flour at a time until it loses some of its stickiness. After that, lightly flour your countertop and you're going to knead your dough for a few minutes until your dough becomes nice and smooth to the touch, but just ever so slightly tacky. Once it's done, you're going to put your dough in a giant mixing bowl that's been lightly greased. You're going to cover the top of your mixing bowl with a clean cloth and you're going to let your dough rise for at least 1 hour or until your dough has doubled in size. Dough has finished rising and now it's time to start our filling. Just a word of note, it did take my dough about 2 hours to rise to double the size because we have so much sugar content in the dough itself, which does tend to make the dough rise a little bit more slowly. So like I said, it did take 2 hours for mine to rise, which is completely fine, but now we're ready for filling. For that, you're going to need the following ingredients: 12 pepper jack cheese sticks and 24 deli slices of honey maple ham. What you're going to do is turn your dough out onto your countertop and divide it into 12 equal portions. Take each portion one at a time, and you're going to flatten it out into a small rectangle. Then take 2 slices of your deli ham and wrap it around each cheese stick. Take your ham and cheese, then stick it onto the center of each of your little dough squares, and you're going to wrap it around and very carefully seal all of the edges. You're then going to take your filled dough and you're going to place it on a lined baking tray seam side down. Now I've lined my baking tray with a silicone baking mat, which you're welcome to do as well. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can use parchment paper. Once you have filled all of your 12 dough sections, what you're going to do is you're going to cover it once more, and you're going to let it rise for another hour to 2 hours, again until it's nice and puffed up and fluffy. Then it's going to be ready for our egg wash. Our dough is almost finished rising a second time. So while it's just got a few more minutes left, we're going to make our egg wash and get our topping prepared. For that, you're going to need the following ingredients: 1 large egg, 1 tablespoon of water, and some sliced pickled jalapeños, which are optional. What you're going to do is combine your egg and your water in a small mixing bowl. You're going to take a basting brush and you're going to gently brush your egg wash across the top of each of your kolaches. Next, you'll take your sliced jalapeños and you can top each of them with however many you'd like. After that, this is ready for baking. You're going to bake these in your oven for 20 to 25 minutes or until the top is nicely golden brown. Each one is puffed up a little bit and it's thoroughly cooked on the inside. That way you don't have any raw dough. Once it's done, take it out of your oven, let it cool on your baking tray for about 5 minutes, and then you can move it to a cooling rack to cool the remainder of the way. Our sweet and spicy ham and cheese kolaches are out of the oven. They have such a nice golden brown color from our egg wash. My jalapeños are a little crispy. Some of them did leak out a little bit of melted cheese, but that's completely okay. They're going to be fabulous anyways. I am going to let mine cool down here on my tray for about 5 minutes before I move them to a cooling rack, and then they'll cool the rest of the way on the cooling rack. You can serve them a little bit warm, or you can serve them at room temperature and they'll be delicious. Thank you so much for joining me today while we made our very, very tasty, sweet and spicy ham and cheese kolaches. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you had fun baking with me today. I appreciate each and every single subscriber as you join me on this journey from banker to baker. You can also visit our website or follow us on social media for this and all of our other fun recipes. And a very special thank you to FreshJax. Don't forget to give them a follow as well. Until next time, I hope you have a very happy bake day.